Welcome, everybody. I'm Tina Weiss from the Gottesman Library at Yeshiva University Libraries, and I am accompanied this evening with Wendy Kosakoff of the Pollock Library, also at Yeshiva University Libraries, and Jay Rosen, both librarians at the Pollock Library. We are going to provide you with an introduction to library resources tailored to Fish Center students, which will be specific and as well general. We're going to show you how to do research related to Holocaust, as well as provide relevant library resources, both general and Judaic, and encourage you to get help from the various librarians on staff. So welcome, and we look forward to guiding you this afternoon.
All right, so I'm going to start with just a basic overview of using the Yeshiva University libraries. You probably have experience with libraries at other schools, and they all are slightly different, or you may not have an experience, but I'm just going to give you a quick tour of our libraries, starting with the library homepage. So I'm going to share my screen, and let me find it. Okay. So what we have here is the Yeshiva University Libraries homepage, which can be accessed at library.yu.edu. And it's great to, when you get a chance, click around and see what you can find. I'm going to give you just some highlights. First thing I want to show you is getting in touch with us. Clicking on Ask Us, you can chat. We have a library chat. Someone's, answering your direct questions right away. You can schedule research consultations through this tab also. The other thing you can do under About Us, you can contact us. Where do we go? No, actually, what I meant to say was staff directory, but you can do that too. Staff directory, but then you can see us. So here's me. You can make an appointment with me, email me. Here's Jay wearing his glasses. And then you have Tina, who is here. She's the head of the Mendel Gottesman Library, and you can contact her through this here. Okay. I'm going to go back to the library homepage. So any searching that you're going to do, if you're going to do, your academic research, you would use the central navigation panel, which is right in the center here. And you would start just to get yourself started by using YuFind, which is kind of, we affectionately refer to it as the Google of the Yeshiva University Library, except that it's not like Google, because with Google, you can put in any terms and, if you spell something wrong, Google will say, did you mean this? Did you mean that? And you'll get 3 million results anyway. Here, you have to be very specific and you have to use keywords. Keywords meaning just anything under about 4 words. If you go much further than that, you probably will get no results at all. So I'm going to give you a sample just to give you a sense for a search that you might be doing. So I'm going to search for the final solution in Germany. Okay. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to type Germany and then I'm putting final solution in quotes. And the reason I'm doing that is because final solution is an idea. And if you don't put quotes around it, you'll get search results for final and search results for solution. But here you put them together in quotes and you get final solution. And I'm going to click the little magnifying glass here. And I get many, many results. You can see right here. But what I would like to do is get peer-reviewed results. So I would click here. Peer-reviewed meaning in an academic setting with an academic writings. Scholars would submit information to an academic journal, and their peers would look it over, maybe tweak it a little, make a few changes here and there, and then it would be accepted by the journal and considered peer-reviewed. So here, when I do this, it gets rid of the non-peer-reviewed items, and you have a lot left, and it gets rid of a lot too, which is nice. The left-hand side of the page allows you to refine results in many ways. I often recommend that people update by publication date first. What's interesting in your situation is that you probably don't want to have information back from 1900, but you probably don't want to go too much for it. If you want to get older materials, you probably want to stay in the 30s to get materials written there, but you may not. You may want to get more current material as well, but you can do that by moving the slider across to give an updated, and you can also just type in a date here. So if I want to get something back from 1965, I can type that in and click enter, and it will update. You also have other options down here. Today I decided I want to look for information from academic journals, so I'm going to check on this. And just a quick comment: if you are comfortable in a language other than English, you can click on the various languages that you are comfortable in that would be available, and not all languages for all articles will be available. But if you're fluent in German, for example, you can certainly look for articles in German and just check this, and the German articles will update and those will come up. But here for me, I only speak and understand English, so I'm going to check English, and it will update to English. And there's plenty more you can do there. I'm not going to dwell on that, but I just wanted to point out that you can narrow results on the left-hand side. So then here I have, okay, 26,000 results. It's still a lot, but I'm going to look through and look. I'm going to try article number 2 here, even though they tell you never to pick the ones on the top. You should always dig. But since I'm just giving you an example, I'm going to choose this and see what comes up. So first, I'm going to click on the title of the article, and often, but not always, you will get an abstract or a summary in this list here, and that's really helpful, or can be really helpful, because if it gives you a summary and you're like, no, that's not what I'm looking for, you didn't have to read the whole article in order to get your results. So here I'm reading this, it looks fine, and then I will click on PDF full text, and here is my article. Now, one thing that I recommend here is, if you're looking for more information, I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy by scrolling down here, but if you're looking for more information that's related, sometimes you can get, if there's a bibliography, this one doesn't have one, you can click on, you can highlight, an article that's listed here and copy it. And you can look to see if that article, if it interests you, is available in Google Scholar, which is always a nice secondary resource here. I always say, look in the library first, but if you have a full article title like that, nice to put it right into Google Scholar. So in order to do that, I look under Search and Find, and I go to Google Scholar. And I am doing it through the library because, and not just going to scholar.google.com, which you certainly can do, but I'm doing it here because what I put in here, which is, I copied that article title, put it in here. If we have it, which, look at that, we do, because you can see it shows up on the right-hand side here, it will link it right back to the Yeshiva University libraries, which is really wonderful. So Google Scholar, generally, if you have a full title of an article, it's a great place to go. And typically, if you have 2 links here, it's often best to at least start with Yeshiva U full text and click on it. The only reason that it's better to do that is because in theory, it gets you there faster. But this is being a little slow. Wait a minute, here it comes. I'm going to open it in a new window, see what happens. All right, so here it is. Here's the article. You have the issue, the volume. You can click on. You can get the article through here because we have it at Yeshiva University. If you find that what you were looking for, like if this didn't come up and you couldn't access it, and it says you have to, you know, pay for the article, you should never have to pay for an article from because your student's here. And what you would do, going back home, is you would go to under services, interlibrary loan, request a journal article, fill out the information, and we have a wonderful interlibrary loan librarian who can then try to find the article for you from a different academic institution, which is just such a wonderful service that academic libraries provide, that they share information. Okay, I'm gonna.
What's the lead time that you need for that service? Like how many days in advance?
It varies. You know, Sheep is pretty quick with this. So typically, I think with articles, they come pretty fast. With books, they take maybe at least a couple of weeks. But articles should come within a few days. You know, I'm sorry, I can't be more specific than that, but I think they come pretty quickly. All right, so if you have a specific journal you are looking for, you would click on the Journals tab. And so say I'm looking for the name of a typical journal. I type it in, and here it is. It's in our library and it's digital. And what I want to point out to you from here is there are 3 different listings. These come from 3 different databases because, you know, when we have journals, a lot of times they're cross-referenced in different databases. But what's important to know here is that the first one only goes until 2001. That's what they are holding in their database. The second one has a full text delay of 1 year. So if you want to get something that's really current, you won't be able to get it here. However, the third one goes to the present. So if you're looking for the more current ones, you're going to want to search them through Oxford University Press. And you know, you just click on it, and it should open to where the journal is located. Here it is, and you can search through here. Any of these journals that you would search through would have a search capability. So you can look through and find what you're looking for within the particular journal. Okay. I am almost done. I have a couple more things to tell you. One is, you know, doing citations can often be a little challenging, and of course, feel free to reach out to us if you ever have citation questions or questions about any of this. But we do have a guide on Citation Help that's here. And some of it, you know, it's designed for undergrads through grad students. So some of it is very basic, like when to cite. But we do have more information under style guides, various formatting are listed here that can help you. You can click on those, and that should help you. Also, we do have access to Refworks, which is a citation manager system, and we just updated this guide here. So there's a lot of information about how to use Refworks, including a lecture that one of our librarians gave just like a week or 2 ago. There is a Refworks YouTube channel. So Refworks takes quite a bit of explaining, but it's all in here. So if you have questions about how to use Refworks, you can just look through here, and we really have done our best to give you the best information that we can to explain how to use Refworks. And there's also Zotero. We have a guide in here for Zotero, which is another citation management system. This is for when you're doing, you know, research with extensive resources. So, you know, one thing that I realized that I forgot to mention to you, so give me a moment and I will do that. Let me get back to the information that I got here. Go backwards one. Okay, so we would. going back to my original research thing, I forgot to mention the tools that are on the right-hand side, and these are really important too. I was so busy getting you over to Google Scholar that I skipped these. One of them is you can save this to Google Drive if you have a Gmail account or Google account. I don't recommend adding it to folder that says add to folder, because the folder is temporary and sometimes people add a lot of things and then when they come back the next day, it's not there. So that really it's just for when you're doing that immediate search. You can take this and email it to yourself, this listing. And most importantly, you can cite this. You can get the citation right from the library website. I'm not sure what a citation style that you use, but we have a whole number of them in here. So say, for example, you're using APA, and I don't really know, I'm sorry. But what you could do is here is your reference right here, your citation. And anytime you get an article or something, a book from the library, it's always good to get the citation right away and save it someplace. Either export to Refworks here, you can export it to bibliographic management software, or just open up a Word document, copy this, and save it in there. So you don't have to go back later. You can say, oh my gosh, I forgot, where did I get it? It's right here for you, it's wonderful. The one caveat is that these are not always formatted perfectly. It's it's human error happens occasionally in these citation listings, so it's always good to check to make sure that the citation listing is correct. And I think that is what most of what I'm going to share with you. If you have any questions, or if you think of any questions by the end of this time, I'm going to stay through the whole thing. Feel free to ask away. And I hand it off to who's going next?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Where you put something in the folder? Where do you find your folder afterwards?
I would not put something in the folder, so you don't have to worry about finding a folder. I recommend you don't do that.
Oh, so where would you save it?
You'd save, you can copy the citation and just open up a Word document and save it on your computer.
Oh,
Okay.
Can you just show us how you linked to Refworks again? I got what you can do with Refworks, but I didn't quite remember how you got there.
Sure, I'll be happy to. Let me find where I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so I went to Citation Help.
Oh, okay, there. Okay.
And there's Refworks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a question? Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Was there a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
How do you know what, I'm sorry, last time I did citations, it was like by hand. So this is like, it's been a really long time.
Me too.
How do you know? How do you know what format? Does it go by a particular school uses APA, or how do you know what format you're supposed to use? And how do you know, and maybe it's covered in one of those videos, I don't know. How do you know when you need to, like, let's say you're writing a paragraph and you're paraphrasing something, then do you need a footnote? Like, how do you know what you need to do? What's the requirement to do?
Okay, to answer your first question, I don't know, since this program is new to me, what citation style you would typically use. Maybe Tina or Jay. No, I just don't. But you just ask your professor.
I was going to,
yeah,
I was going to suggest that sometimes professors, class by class, have a requirement. Sometimes it's Chicago or some other citation. That's APA is usually psychology, if I remember.
Psychology, social sciences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And MLA is typically writing.
Right.
Writing classes.
Sometimes the professors may specify on their syllabus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another question is, so when you're writing, like within the paragraph, you put in the little number or you put in parentheses the title?
It depends.
I'm really dating myself how I used to do.
Yeah, no, it's okay, because when I went to college, it was only Turabian. And I had a typewriter, so.
Yeah, right. I haven't done a paper in a very long time.
Yeah,
like
no, I understand.
I don't know.
I recommend, you can feel free to come speak with any one of us because we'll be happy to help you.
Okay.
But I recommend a site called Purdue Owl. So it's Purdue like the chicken.
Or is it
Owl.
like university? Yeah.
Yeah, Purdue University, that too. Owl, OWL, which stands for Online Writing Lab.
Yeah.
And if you go to that site, you can, I will show, oh, thank you, Jay. Jay put it in the chat. I'm going to share a screen again, and we'll get there somehow. Let's see. Okay. So, so if I'm in the Purdue Owl here, you can search through here for, actually, even better, I find it's better to believe it or not, to Google it. So if I am doing, say, in Text Citations APA, Purdue Owl. For me, that's the best way to do it, because if you are citing something and it's in the middle of your paper and you're using a paragraph, this will take me in there. It will get me right to in-text citations, and it shows you how to do this. It gives you samples, like right here,
Okay.
short quotation. It shows you what to do within the paper.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so just
Okay.
if you put all that information into Google.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, and also just like if I'm looking specifically for APA, there's all kinds of information here that you can look through to find specific questions. Like if you're in your bibliography, you're referencing other print sources or books or articles. This really does lay it out very nicely.
Okay.
Okay. I hope
Okay,
that,
thank
and
you.
if that's not clear, feel free to be in touch with any of us, and we'll be happy to help you with that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
All right. So, and feel free to chime in with questions at any time if they come up. We'll also probably have a few minutes afterwards for questions, but I'm going to be walking you through a research guide to Holocaust studies that I and a couple colleagues at the Gottesman Library put together. So let me share my screen. Okay. So we're going to start back on the library website's homepage, library.yu.edu. And actually, before we get started looking at the research guide, I just want to point out a brief note about off-campus access. Since I know this is an online program, many of you may be accessing library resources remotely. So we have an off-campus access guide, which you can access here. And it's also under Research Help, off-campus access guide. I won't go too into this, but this just has information on how to sign in into the library catalog and access electronic library resources. So I encourage you to look at this if you're ever having trouble. And of course, if you're having trouble, reach out to any one of us at any time and we'd be happy to help. So going back to this research guide, there are a few ways you can access this. For one, as of yesterday, it should be embedded on each Canvas page on Canvas. You can also get to it from a number of places on the library homepage. Under Research Help, once again, you can go to Research Guides. You can scroll, these are organized alphabetically. You can also search by subject. You can type it in if you know what you're looking for. We're going to go to Holocaust Studies Resources. So as I said, this is a guide I put together with a couple other librarians over the last few weeks. I really encourage you to check it out. I think it's a great resource for browsing and for discovery, as well as for some more targeted and specific research. So you have a specific research question in mind, or there's a particular area or aspect of the Holocaust you're looking to study. You can see the guide has been organized into about a dozen tabs up here. Each tab is a different page that relates to a different aspect of the Holocaust. I know, again, that this is an online program. Many of you may be remote and very far from New York City, but if any of you are in New York City or close, I really recommend that you take advantage of our print book and reference collection. So I added about 200 books from our collection to this guide, which is really just kind of a drop in the bucket. We have a pretty outstanding collection for Holocaust studies resources and some really, really knowledgeable librarians who work in this area. So if anyone's near New York or in New York, I really recommend that you take advantage of these resources and come into the library and check out some of these books. So you can see that we organized the print book collection into 12 categories just to make it a bit easier to parse. You can also just browse it by section. I recommend if there is an area you're interested in looking at, say you are interested in researching media representations of the Holocaust, you can click on that particular point and it's going to take you straight to that section. You still have the option to scroll as you wish. And then for each book, there's some information on it, you know, the cover, the author, when it was published, the call number, as well as its location. And if you click on a record, it's going to take you to our library catalog where you can see some more of that information. And you can see if it's non-circulating, that means it's not able to be checked out of the library, for example. Available status means it is. So just some helpful information on that. I'm going to walk you to the next section, which is ebooks. This, again, is just a portion of our collection of ebooks. The page would be way too unwieldy if we included everything. So with that in mind, I did include a link to our online catalog where you can search for more. So I'll show you what that looks like. So this links to just a basic search of Holocaust or Shoah. You can see it's an enormous number of results. And so I'd recommend using these limiters that Wendy talked about to click ebooks. And that's going to narrow down the search to only ebooks that use the keyword Holocaust or Shoah. So again, this guide isn't comprehensive, but it's sort of a lot of highlights and we have a lot more. And I encourage you to really dig in if you're interested. So I organized ebooks into Holocaust education, which has some sort of general history and overview, as well as resources for teaching the Holocaust and Holocaust representations. So say you're interested in accessing one of these ebooks, I'll just sort of demo what that process looks like. Again, Holocaust representations, you can click on the title or on the cover. And it's going to take you to that item record. So this looks similar to the journal summary that Wendy showed us a few minutes ago. You'll have information on the authors, the type of resource, and then this is really useful. This is kind of the abstract, which can give you a great sense of what the resource is about without you having to actually open it. And it can tell you from the outset if this is something that is, you know, worth your time. There are a few ways to access it. You can see here in the top left. One way is to open it as a PDF. So you can see all of these options up here that Wendy discussed, and there's also a table of contents on the left-hand column. So you can scroll around by there and jump around. So just to give you a brief idea. Returning to the guide, I also included some databases and scholarly journals. I'm just going to
Can I stop you on the ebooks?
I'm sorry?
Just on the ebooks.
Yes.
So can you just go back to a book? I just want to ask about what the options are in terms of actually getting the book and reading the book and keeping the book and
Sure.
Stuff like that. So, so you showed us where you got a PDF. Now that PDF, as I remember, when I've tried this, so you can see the PDF on the screen, but if you want to download the PDF to the computer, I think it limits you, or at least the ones I tried, it limited you to a certain number of pages per day, is what it looked like, right? So if I came back, if I've got a 300-page book, I can download it, but it's going to take me a week or something like that to get all the pages.
I do think that's correct. Tina, I don't know the specific number.
So actually on this particular one, it says print, email, or save 50 pages. But there's unlimited amounts of downloads. So if you go back one screen, Jay, if you can help me out with that. So there's the option over here. If you click where it says full download up on top, let's see what it provides us. So you can check it out like as if you were checking out a physical library book. For a maximum of 7 days, you'll have the full item available to you for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will
Okay.
disappear off your, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And the EPUB, what software is going to read the EPUB?
It says mobile devices, it's recommended.
Right. Okay. It seems to be Adobe Digital Editions that's
Yes.
going to read it.
Editions.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a free software that you can download from the internet.
Why is there a maximum number of days for an ebook?
Each one is probably different, but for this particular one, it's 7 days.
Yeah, but why is there? Like, who's it going to affect? Let's say you had it for 14 days.
I mean, you could probably check it out again. There are, I guess, limitations with the license agreements.
There are limitations, yeah. Any other questions?
No, so just is that sort of a representative book? Those will be the options, and that's typically what it'll be. It'll either be a PDF or it'll be an EPUB, and it will be for some limited number, either a limited number of pages or a limited number of days.
Yes, the specifics may vary, the number of days and the number of pages, but that is generally, what ebook access looks like.
Good, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm gonna just show you just some very quick highlights from these other sections. We've included a list of databases that are both general and very specific to Jewish culture. Academic Search Complete is a good example of a very general database that has articles on the social sciences, the humanities. It's a good place to start your research if you're looking to sort of cast a wide net. And then by contrast, we have more specific sort of resources. For example, Historical Jewish Press digitizes Jewish newspapers from the 19th to the early 20th century. We have the Index to Yiddish Periodicals, a bit more sort of subject specific, but we wanted to cover both. And then some online databases as well. These are databases mostly by Yad Vashem, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. There are databases of Holocaust victims' names, of those who were deported to concentration camps, and so on, if you're doing that kind of historical research. And then moving on to journals, I wanted to just gather a few journals that are very relevant to Holocaust studies. Wendy mentioned the Holocaust and Genocide Studies already. There are a few other that I recommend checking out. I think a lot of them are published quarterly, and you have access through Yeshiva University libraries. So just moving on, we wanted to include a page on understanding and combating Holocaust denial. So we have some information. There are organizations that put together a lot of resources on the subject. We also found a lot of scholarly articles that talk about kind of the legal and moral dimensions to hate speech and Holocaust denialism. So very interesting subject, if that's something that's interesting to you. We also wanted to link to some prominent museums and memorials and cultural institutions around the world. We couldn't include all of them, but we included a lot, sort of organized them around European museums and memorials with just a link to them, a brief description, and then the name of the country. A lot of these you're probably familiar with already, maybe some of them you're not. We included some Israeli museums and memorials, including Yad Vashem, which I mentioned just a moment ago, as well as some in North America. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum is probably the best known of these. And then there are a few from other parts of the world, South Africa, Japan, and China. And a lot of these have pretty robust educational resources, online exhibits, a lot of things like that, photo collections, for example. Moving to the next page, we gathered a number of testimonies and sort of visual resources related to the Holocaust. So the testimonies are primarily oral histories but not entirely. There are some video collections. I think Tina might be talking about that in a moment, but I definitely encourage you to check these out. Just an example is the International Database of Oral History Testimonies by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. I think they have about 80,000 oral histories online, which you can access through the collections search. And let's see, yeah, about 80,000. It's pretty incredible. Very detailed records for each one. If you click on one, oh, this one is a video cassette, so I think you'd have to request that, but a lot of them are available just online to view or to listen to, like this one, for example. So I definitely recommend checking those out. It adds a really, I think, powerful kind of human dimension to this research. We also included, as I said, a lot of visual resources. These are mostly photo collections, some archival sort of collections. I won't go into any of these in detail, but definitely recommend that you check them out.
You have Holocaust films?
Let's see, I think that there are, yeah, a few of these do have films. Holocaust images, they include films, the National Jewish Film Center, the Jewish Film Archive.
How could you search, let's say, for a specific film?
Well, you would, because these are pointing to resources outside of the library, you would have to go to this page. And then I just did Control F. You could search for video or film. And then I would click on those particular resources and then you can delve more deeply. Does that make sense?
I guess the library itself doesn't have any films online. You go to each, like if I'm looking for, let's say, a specific film, let's say on Eichmann or something, I'd have to go to each one and then search for it.
Yes, so the library, sorry to jump in, the library recently obtained certain, I think about 15 or 20 films to support, I think that's a class being taught with the Fish Center with Professor Baum, if you're familiar with that. There's a Holocaust film class, but that's for the most part the extent to the film collection that we have that would especially be digital. We may have some still in DVD format, but they would be physically on site.
And if I'm not in Professor Baum's class, can I?
You can, yes, yes.
How would I find those?
I guess when I want to let Jay finish up, and I can tell you. I'll when my screen is up, I'll share and such. How's that?
Also, Jay, the print books that you mentioned earlier, those you have to actually go to the library to get them?
Yes, you will have to go to the library to get those. Some of them can be checked out and brought home. A lot of them are referenced, which means they're available for in-library use only. And you can see that under each book. I tried to put that.
And how do you go about checking it out from the library?
Well, you would physically go to the library. You'd have the call number. You could look for it yourself, or you could ask a librarian for help, and then you'd bring it to the circulation desk and check it out.
Right, but do you need some sort of library card or something? That's what I'm asking you.
Your YUID card will serve as your library access.
Oh, I don't think we have YUID. We're in a remote class.
As remote students, we don't have a,
Okay.
we don't have a physical ID.
I think we can discuss afterwards, or we could discuss it with Shai, and if people are going to be coming to campus to make arrangements.
Mhm.
I think it would probably be possible that students would be able to get IDs. So
I'll just briefly say, I think security does issue IDs to remote students, because we definitely want you to be able to come to campus if you're able to and use our resources. So definitely, I'd recommend reaching out to the security department. But I just have a couple more things to share, and then I'm going to hand it over to Tina. I know we're approaching 6 o'clock. So we wanted to include some information on looted assets, some of the cultural property from European Jews that were stolen leading up to and during the Holocaust. I'm not going to, show you any specifics, but these are all really useful. They have incredible images. NARA in particular, the National Archives and Records Administration, has a lot of archival materials that you can search through. A lot of it's digitized and pretty user-friendly. We included some information on war criminals. A lot of this is actually sort of primary sources, trial transcripts, documents, other sort of historical materials. You'll see that a lot of these have to do with the trial of Adolf Eichmann, the Nuremberg trial, but there are some other sort of trials and other things we've included here. And then finally, just some sort of miscellaneous resources that we felt were still important to include. We have a number of online encyclopedias and maps, as well as just some miscellaneous resources. These are links to other university collections that are freely accessible, some other archives, different catalogs. This is a forum that's actually an interactive forum, resource sharing network for Holocaust scholars. So just a few other directions for you to go in. And we also included just a help page at the end. There are a number of ways you can get in touch with us. You can see my boxes right here. You can email me, schedule an appointment. You can contact us via chat in real time. You can use the ask form that Wendy showed you, as well as the staff directory. So we really encourage you to, take advantage of these resources, and we're always happy to help. So with that, I'm gonna stop sharing and hand it over to Tina.
Okay, I know with limited time that we have remaining, because we want to have a little bit of extra time for Q&A. I'm just going to answer Joseph's question and give you an overview of a few different things that we might not have covered yet. So I'm going to prepare to share my screen. Okay, here we go. We discussed that we have various databases, and it's nice to see what the full list of databases are. It's kind of overwhelming, but if you were to, there's a drop down here, and there are things like Jewish Studies, General, Dead Sea Scrolls, etc. You can also search. So I'm just going to pop in Holocaust and see what we are able to locate. So here we're able to find, these are things that another list of databases, some that are available via subscription through YU, and others that are available freely to anybody, that we felt that would be useful and helpful for those who are studying these various topics. So a Holocaust Encyclopedia, which may be helpful for terms. So being that we're around the time of Kristallnacht, it's trending. What is Kristallnacht? And it'll give you basic information. This is probably a great basic encyclopedia to be able to browse through to get an overview. For example, of the types of things that are available. I'm going to go back, and I wanted to show you if you have facility in Hebrew or are interested in rabbinic responses to the Holocaust, we have access to, once it loads, it's actually, so although it views in English, everything is in Hebrew. So Isurei Achila, things that are forbidden to be eaten, issues with weddings, things of lulav and etrog for Sukkot, all different types of topics that could have been written about in rabbinic responsum during the Holocaust are here, and as well searchable for those who are interested in that aspect of Holocaust studies, of that interfacing of Jewish law and the Shoah. Yestor book translations looking at various Jewish communities and those who perished during the Holocaust, lists and other communal information, as well as Jewish Gen, are available here. We also have access to the Fortunoff Video Archive, which again, it's another one of these video archives. There is a multi-step login process to obtain access. If anyone's interested in this, we can certainly help you out. It is step-by-step to be able to obtain access, but it's one of these things that are very worthwhile and will provide you significant information that you might not be able to obtain elsewhere. We did have a question regarding, actually, I wanted to show you also, sometimes we just want to understand contextually, and we have so many other encyclopedias that may relate. We also have Encyclopedia Judaica, which is a specific Judaica resource that is available here in online format, as well as we do certainly have it in print here at the library. regarding the question that we had about any Holocaust related movies, of course, for personal viewing, I suggest a few different things. If people through the library is one thing, and of course, personal access is another. For personal access, of course, if you may have subscriptions to any of the streaming services, there are often Holocaust films there, as well as ones that we may not have access to. Things like the New York Public Library or any other public library may also have more expansive access to videos. So in particular for that course that I mentioned, we did obtain quite a number. Some of them are here that are Holocaust films. The Last Laugh, this one over here. I believe that there are more. There was just only a selection that was shown here. I think we can type in Holocaust, and these are the ones that there are a few more. If anyone has any particular questions, they can certainly contact me and I can connect with you and let you know which ones additionally we have. We also have access, and there are other films that the institution subscribes to. I am neither, but I'll make believe I'm a student. These are some of the films that YU has access to, which are not necessarily Holocaust related, but a little bit of everything, because there are other classes that relate to film or request these for students to utilize. Maybe it's a literature class and they want to see the film version, etc. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I did that. One second. Jay mentioned a lot that regarding that we have a significant collection that's physically here in the library. So we certainly do. The Holocaust collection here is pretty expansive. And it can be searched either with the print, especially, can be searched either via the YU Find tab or the ULIS Catalog tab. Both are usable for that. I presume, do any of your classes utilize the e-reserves? Have you found that? Yeah, and you're able to access the
well, actually,
reading?
the first thing that we have in e-reserves is actually next week's reading. So I actually haven't we haven't used it yet. But if I looked at the syllabus, it's next week's reading.
Okay, and it's usually
it's Dr. Zimmerman's class.
Okay, and it's usually linked within your Canvas page.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
I think there was one week I actually did the first week's reading because not everybody had received the book he put up on there, and we got it.
Okay. I know we're running out of time, so I'm just going to truncate what I have to say. Just also, we do have an institutional repository that may also have additional information regarding some of these materials. There may have been a thesis or a dissertation in the past that was written by a YU student that may relate to Holocaust studies or an area that you're interested in learning more about. We also have access to ProQuests, where you can also look up dissertations and theses, and many of them are in full text that were written not only at YU, but other institutions that can be also, many of them can be downloaded as PDFs. Yeah, as an overview, I think this is, maybe we should switch off to if anyone has any questions before we wrap up.
Is there access to things like Jstor?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that through this page, or do we log in with our YU credentials on it on the Jstor page?
Wendy, you want to explain?
Yeah, what I was going to say was if you click on the databases tab, which Tina can do, and then type in Jstor.
Oh, okay.
It'll take you directly to that. And you don't need to log in until you try to access materials. So if you're searching for materials, like if here, she hasn't logged in yet until you'd be looking for specific, you'd click on a specific article and then it'll make you log in. And your login to library, by the way, is the same as Canvas. It's your Active Directory, same exact thing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and you'd be able to Then you'd have your options, your download your PDF. This is a journal article like all the others. You can limit by the type, the journal, a book chapter, whether, and you can specify by and limit the years and such as well. All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay.
And of course, if you think of any questions like tomorrow or whenever, we're really always available. I know we've given you a lot of information to digest all at once, but we're always happy to help you out anytime.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.